So as pupils and parents prepare for the first day of school tomorrow, cybersecurity experts have cautioned against a term called Sheranting. Now, it's when parents publish potentially sensitive content about their children on internet social media platforms. In this case, phishing information around your child's school and other information contained in the metadata of that photograph could become a risk to you and your family. So for those reasons, we're asking this morning, why is this a dangerous thing, and how can families share and still be careful? Let's get you some expert advice from Senior Account Manager at ESET, cybersecurity company, Calin Cloete. It's great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. And we all love to do that, right? We love to share happy snaps of things that happen in our families, in our friendship circles. This particular brand of posting that we're terming Sheranting, why does it come with so much increased risk?
Good morning, Michelle, and thank you so much for having ESET this morning. So yes, absolutely. Sheranting is a very new term we use where parents potentially overshare information of their children online. And the reason why Sheranting is so risky is because it could have long-term, lasting negative effects on your child.
And tell us more about that.
Yeah, let's chat about that. One of the big lasting negative effects that it could have on your child is the fact that that information you share online could be permanent by means of people sharing that data to friends and family members. They also take screen grabs, and it potentially stays on the internet for a very long time. The other negative effects that it could be lasting embarrassing moments for your child because they've not consented to sharing that specific information. And also, lastly, like you have mentioned, the metadata side of things. We often don't know, but when we post a picture online, that picture has metadata containing potentially the location, the type of device that it was used to take that specific picture or video, and the date and time as well. And that is information that cyber attackers typically use for phishing attempts or social engineering attempts.
Wow. Yeah, it's scary stuff, isn't it? And especially going into the new school year tomorrow, when we think of parents sharing photos of, especially grade ones as they start their school career. Outside of things like metadata and outside of these sort of technology side of things that we need to keep in mind when we're sharing these kinds of photos, there's just sort of common sense, right? Don't share a photo publicly of your child showing his or her school or, for example, the school badge on a T-shirt.
Absolutely. So we do embrace technology. As a cybersecurity company, we absolutely embrace technology. We're not advocating for not using technology or not using social media, but what we are saying is be mindful, be vigilant when posting potentially sensitive information online. Yep. So that sensitive information, like your child's school uniform, could pinpoint your location of residence. We typically send our children to schools closest to our homes. We also ensure that that the information we share online is not easy to decipher. And with sharing a lot of information online, there is emerging technology such as deepfake AI as well that could potentially be harmful as they use images and voice recordings of your children and then potentially create malicious content.
Yeah. Am I protected if my privacy settings are up to date? Would that, obviously, it means only a certain amount of people can have access to my photos, let's say on Instagram. But when you're talking about that kind of deep fake stuff and the metadata in a photo involving the time and date and the place, am I protected if my privacy settings are all right?
So your privacy settings are absolutely important. It's important to ensure that your privacy settings are updated, but you can never really be safe on the internet. So that is why it is very important to take proactive caution to not post that sensitive data. Yes, we advocate for updating your privacy settings, such as turning off your location and making sure that You do multi-factor authentication to log into your applications as well. It is a good measure of control, but it is not 100% safe. When you say your privacy settings are updated, it does not say that you cannot be hacked, or it's not to say that your information is completely safe online.
And then, of course, there's the terms and conditions of the social media site itself, right? Even though my settings might be on the highest level of privacy, is there something in the fine print that says something about, once you've uploaded that photograph onto a social media website, that it can still then be used and seen by others?
So, Michelle, yes, they often do stipulate that in the terms and conditions, but we really cannot comment specifically on terms and conditions due to the fact that these social platforms have different terms and conditions. So it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly the terms and conditions. However, in most cases, they do say once the picture is uploaded to this specific platform, it is their data to, kind of do with what they please. But yeah, so we cannot really comment on that, but it is, we do recommend to read through the fine print, read those terms and conditions, and familiarize yourself with that.
And then you mentioned this a little earlier, Calin, the idea of creating a persona of your child online from when they were born into being a toddler, being a young child, young adult, and so on, without, of course, that child's consent. I mean, that's an important thing that we need to keep in mind, especially as parents and guardians, right? What are we putting out there about our children? And once they are able to consent, how will they feel about that?
So, yes, Michelle, according to a BBC report, by the year 2030, parents sharing kids' information online could be one of the leading causes of cybersecurity breaches in the world. So, very important to be mindful that your digital footprint is important. It is going to be there for a very long time. And, of course, consent. So, yes, it's very difficult to ask your child for consent posting pictures online. We often don't also make the best decisions when posting online. But it's often important to think of what will happen in the future. Will you still be happy that you've posted that specific picture? What negative effects it could have in future. Yeah,
and also just keep in mind the dignity of your child. Something that you might find cute today, they might not find so cute in 10 years' time. So Calin, as we end off our interview, what is the advice? What's the takeaway from this interview? Should we stop using social media to brag about our children altogether?
Yes, I think we should definitely not stop using social media. It's a good platform to connect with loved ones, family members, and friends. What we are advocating for is to be extremely mindful when sharing personal information online, when potentially sharing embarrassing photos. Not only does it have potentially negative effects on your child in future, it may also have negative effects on the cyber, or because we are in a space where everything is digitized, it is important to be mindful that cyber criminals are out there waiting for that information to potentially, social engineer, phishing, and like we also mentioned, the deepfake AI on the rise. So, be mindful. Do not completely stop posting, but be completely mindful when you do post online.
Yeah. If the photograph or the video makes you think twice, perhaps just take a second before posting, I suppose, any image online. Calin Cloete, let me thank you for your time this morning. She's a senior account manager with cybersecurity company ESET. Some good advice for all of us there.